For those of you who don't know me, I'm the president here at the Anne Arundel Chamber. And I want to thank you for plugging in today to learn a little bit more about LinkedIn, which is a great tool for getting connected and promoting your businesses. Um, Today, we are fortunate to have Brandon Gully, who's going to be our teacher, our guru today, who's going to walk us through how to use it. And a lot of it's not going to be about the nuts and bolts and the basics, but how to really make this a business tool, a marketing tool, and to turn it into a way to get your contacts or your followers to become potential leads, and also how to find leads. Um, so we are going to turn it over to Brandon, and if you can, as he asked, if you can just in the chat box put what you're hoping to get your business, the type of business, so he'll know and he can kind of tailor comments to that, and what you're hoping to get out of this today. So with that, I will turn it over to the professor.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks for attending. I appreciate everyone taking some time out. Hopefully, you're able to use this over your lunch hour or something like that. Definitely use the chat. I don't mind if you jump in, but if we get it's a smaller group, so I don't mind if people jump in with questions. But if it gets to be too much, I might have to tailor that back a little bit and push us back to the chat. But if it's a smaller group, we can definitely just jump in as needed if you guys need to. But the chat helps me to kind of know the types of businesses you guys are in, so I can kind of tailor this a little bit to something I think will be valuable for all of you. So so one of the big things that I'll start off with is just that I'm in sales myself. I do financial planning for a career. I have a side business that does like sales coaching and kind of a group setting for small business owners. And that's really where my passion for LinkedIn started, was when I was doing the sales coaching. I was meeting a lot of small business owners and individuals who really were passionate about what they were doing, but they weren't really sure some of the most effective ways to market and prospect themselves. And one of the things I realized along the way is there's a big difference between marketing and sales. I always kind of thought the two were one and the same. But as I grew in a sales role, I realized there's a big difference between marketing and sales. And to me, marketing's focus should be the proverbial get the fish in the pond, right? So if you want to go fishing, if you want to catch fish, if you go to a pond that doesn't have any fish in it, it's not going to be a very successful day. On the flip side, if it's a pond that's teeming with fish, you're going to have a lot more success. And so to me, the two differences are marketing's job is to fill the pool, fill the pond with fish, and then sales job is to figure out how to get those fish back out and actually catch them and that sort of thing. And so to me, marketing's or LinkedIn is really a marketing tool. And I think people can use it that way if they're doing it effectively. I think it can be extremely effective. The biggest thing I see a lot of times is people start seeing more business come from it, and they stop using it for a while because they're working with those new clients, and then they kind of forget to get back to it. So it's one of those things that if you're managing it correctly, I think it can create kind of a consistent pipeline where you can constantly have new people coming in based on how you want to take on new clients and how frequently and that sort of thing. But it's definitely something that you don't have to obsess over or use a ton. But if you use it regularly, it can have a big impact. So a lot of the focus for this is going to be around how do you market, how do you get fish in the pond. If you're in sales, it's your job to figure out how to get them back out. But I've found that you can have a lot more success getting fish back out of the pond if there's more fish in there. And so LinkedIn's a great way to fill the pond, so to speak. So ideally, it's a targeted approach. And what I mean by that is you should know what your target markets are. And so for some of these businesses, that are here today, I don't know. I haven't dealt with some of these businesses, so I don't know. You might be able to update me as we go. But if you know what your targeted client is, say it's a certain number of employees or, at a company, or say you're trying to target a certain level of employee in the company, LinkedIn can be really good for that. And I usually recommend, and there's tons of information out there on this idea of vertical marketing, but how do you figure out a market and then drive deep into it? So if you wanted to work with, say, attorneys, for example, how do you find attorneys, and then how do you constantly keep working with them? How do you become known in that space? as somebody who's an expert in working with that particular type of business. And so for some of you, there might be centers of influence that are really good for you to connect with. I see this Division of Rehabilitation Services. There may be some great centers of influence, and you just need to build up your COIs, your centers of influence, enough that you can create a consistent pipeline of people to work with, and that sort of thing. So I think there's some things there that we'll be able to get some value out of today. But like I said, the more I can learn about your guys's um, perfect. Okay, so target businesses and assist businesses and job seekers. And I'll mention this too, for people who are job seekers, a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about is the same thing. You've got to have enough job opportunities in the pond, so to speak, to find the one that's the right fit for you. Nothing better than being, sought after by 2 or 3 different companies at the same time. Gives you more negotiating power, puts you in a position to really pick the business you want to work with. So a lot of this stuff is applicable even for people who are looking for jobs. Personally, I think LinkedIn's a great tool for really focusing on margin. So for people who are big on sales, if you understand return on investment of your time, and seeking the best margins, I think that's a good thing to focus on. So if you haven't spent time on target marketing, do so. You'll get more value out of LinkedIn once you're more comfortable with your target markets. The next thing is really starting to understand who you already know. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on your news feed. Everyone has one. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on some of the different things that LinkedIn can do. I will mention you have a lot of control over your profile up here under your mini-me. That's up here in the top, and especially under settings and privacy. So if you haven't explored that in a while, might be worth going in there and just making sure all your notifications are turned on and set up the way that you want them to, and how you want to receive that information, whether it's by email or text message or however you want to get that. Another thing that LinkedIn has that's kind of cool is this work setting thing over here. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's blocked on my screen, but there's some neat stuff in here if you haven't checked on that before. Different resources that LinkedIn provides. Some of them are free, including the ability to find temporary workers who can help out with different projects, almost like a Fiverr type service or something like that. So again, if you haven't explored some of that stuff, there's some neat stuff that LinkedIn can do. Today, we're going to really focus on managing your network. So over here on the left-hand side, under the picture and under your profile, you see manager network. On this particular profile, I have 1,157 connections. I'm using one of my bigger profiles just to kind of show you guys some of the different things that you can do. And so for most people, 1,157 connections, I can't keep in touch with 1,157 connections on a regular basis. There's just no way. And so by the end, I'll talk to you guys about the value of a top 50 or a top 100 profile, and how to build a separate profile that you may want to leverage. But when you're new to LinkedIn, this is a great place to start. And so what I want to focus on initially is, there's business in your first connections. There's people you've connected with that you meant to get back in touch with that you just forgot about, and that sort of thing. So one thing that's nice to do is pull all these names into Excel. LinkedIn has a way of pulling them out. I don't remember exactly how to do it now. It's been a while since I pulled this big of a group, but there's a way to export your contacts into Excel, and then you can go through and rank them. And what I mean by rank them is typically A's are people who would do business with you, and probably soon. B's are probably people who would do business with you, but you might need to rebuild that relationship a little bit. C's are people who are probably more likely centers of influence, so they're probably never going to do business with you realistically, but they're probably great people to know. Maybe they're socially mobile, they're involved in the community, and so you just want to have them on your radar. And then D's are generally people that you can quote unquote delete. You just don't really need to keep a connection with them probably, but if you want to, maybe because something will change in the future, it never hurts to do that. So one of the first things I always recommend is get a sense of who your A's and your B's are. Again, A's are people who are going to do business with right away, and B's are people that you'll probably eventually do business with. The relationship and the trust just isn't there yet. So that's one of the first things to do, is learn to sort your connections. And LinkedIn used to give us a way to tag them. There was a tagging feature. I don't think they've ever brought that back yet. I've never seen it back yet. They used to have a tagging feature. So I used to be able to rank them A, B, C, and D just right within their profile. People couldn't see how you had them ranked. But nowadays, at least initially, it's nice to do it on Excel. And then you can rank them, and then you can kind of track it from there. So part of figuring some of this out though, and let me go back on that really quick. Up here, right here you see like your 1100 connections or whatever, search by name, and then right next to that you see search with filters. This is the most valuable tool in my opinion that LinkedIn gives us. And so up here you can search by people, by job opportunities, by posts. If you saw something and you just thought it was interesting and kind of lost it in your feed. If you want to sort people by schools they went to, if that's a common affiliation, by groups maybe that you're in with them, common groups, that sort of thing. The next thing is first, seconds, and third plus. So first are the people you know already and you're already connected to, and you've already got an established relationship with them on LinkedIn. Second is all the people that they know. And then third are all the people that are outside of any of that. So initially I always recommend start with your first. Obviously with the pandemic, the world has changed. So location has become less specific than it used to be. But if you are trying to work with people in specific areas, location can be helpful. The other ones I really like are if you go over here to the all filters, and let me minimize these things really quick. So if you go over here to all filters, some of the things, and this is where I'm going to spend a few minutes of time, is on some of these different things. So the big ones, connections of, is a really nice one to use. So we'll come back to that. Further down, if you want to look again, current companies, past companies, schools that they've attended, industries. And so here where you have this plus box, you can add other things that might be important to you, or that you might be looking for. So again, industry, especially centers of influence, industries can be a big one. Further down though, and here's where, and we're going to spend a little bit more time on this in a second, but if you go down here to the keyword search, title and company and schools, sometimes that can speed up what you're trying to accomplish. Title is one of my favorites. So again, say you were trying to meet somebody that was a CEO specifically, if you put in just keyword title CEO, and again, I'm just in my first connections. Just in my first, there's 104 results, or call it 10% or so of the people that I'm connected to. So if CEOs are someone that you want to talk to, or you think that's a good jumping off point, that's a good filter to use. Up here then at the top, there's also a regular search box that you can use up here at the top. And LinkedIn has down at the bottom, the very bottom of LinkedIn, over questions right here at the bottom of your page. If you just scroll down, you see where it says questions. Visit our help center. It's going to load a new screen, and then how can we help? And there's a word called Boolean. So Boolean. If you type that in the search and then you hit enter, the biggest one that I like to reference is using Boolean search on LinkedIn. And so if you click on that, back up in this top part where the search box is, that magnifying glass, if you're in the Boolean search, get rid of that for me. Okay. Here's where you can do quoted searches. You can do not, or, and. So LinkedIn's going to walk you through what you're allowed to use and not allowed to use within a Boolean search, the sequence of a parenthetical search. So again, if you're trying to find really specific things or really specific people within your network, the Boolean search can be a super valuable tool. So if it's something broad-based like CEO, CFO, HR type titles, again, if you're looking for a job, HR might be a good one to use. Your all filters and then just a keyword for a title can be sufficient. If you're looking for something more specific or more targeted, again, just go to that help button down at the bottom of your page. And then in the search box, how can we help? Just type in that word Boolean, and you'll get directions for how to do a Boolean search up here at the top. And then if you want to reset your filters, just hit reset on that. And again, nothing I'm showing you guys today requires Navigator. What I will say is if you want to do more searches, then you're going to have to maybe potentially use Navigator at some point. But for most people, it's not necessary. Okay, Brian just asked that question. Cool. So no, all these are the free features that I'm showing you so far. The only time I've ever wanted to use the paid version is if I was doing extra searches for some reason. LinkedIn will usually let you try premium for free. You see, and now you see on mine, it says retry premium for free. So one of the things I like to do, especially if I know it's a typically slower month for me, summertime is a lot of times the case. I'll do the premium for free for a month, and I'll just use it to just purge names. And I'll just find people. I'll find tons and tons of people. One of the cool things that if you're going to do that, one of the cool things that you can do is if you go here, if you go into any person's profile, and then you go to more and save the PDF, it literally kind of looks like a resume. But if you click on that, you can see this person's like profile or whatever. You can download it, you can save it. So the big advantage to that obviously is being able to save these people. So if you do premium and you do it for a month for free and just use it to purge a bunch of leads, quote unquote, or qualified people that you want to work with, if you turn them into that PDF, and again, in any person's profile, yours included, more save to PDF. This is kind of a fun thing to
Did
print
you
and
see
share.
my message? I can't
Please.
leave this, but do you want to order lunch or no?
Oh, sorry. Can you mute for us? Whoever was just talking. So that's a good way if you want. Like I said, it kind of looks like a resume, another cool feature of LinkedIn that a lot of people don't know about. So yeah, if you're using the free version and you get jammed up on searches and you need to do more, try premium for free. But like I said, it's usually 30 days. You do have to manually cancel it. But and then they'll usually offer it to you again. Like I said, I get it every couple months where they say, try it again. Maybe you'll like it different this time. I just mainly use it to purge opportunities, is my main way of using it. So, and then I get rid of it. If you're in recruiting or business development or that sort of thing, it may be more valuable. So start with your first connections, and work your way through. Again, there's probably a ton of opportunities in there that you didn't even think about, that you can take advantage of. And then after you've kind of worked through your first opportunities, now it's time to really, to me, get into the really valuable stuff, which is second connections. So again, of the 1,100 that I have that are first connections, if I add second under that first box and I take out the first and I say show results, my 1,100 people combined between all of them know 1.3 million people. So basically, it'd be hard to run out of people to talk to, with this kind of a plethora of opportunities. And then again, go back into your filters, maybe do a keyword search of some sort for certain things that you're looking for, especially titles, a big one, or do the Boolean search for your seconds and really start to narrow down the stuff that you're looking for. But same thing, if I go CEO just for fun right now and then show results, I'm still going to have 94,000, right? May want to narrow that down. Maybe I just want to focus on people that are in Maryland for now. It's, stay more local, gets me down to 5,600. It's still a ton, but it's a lot of great opportunities. Then from there, you can go into each person's profile and you can learn a lot about them pretty quickly. I always look at their picture and see if they're smiling. To me, that's an important thing. Like if you've got a professional photo on there, that's helpful. But either way, a smile is always a good sign. Odds are they're going to be more open, potentially to a conversation. You can scroll down, you can see more about him. So here's his history, what he's been doing. And in a second, I'll come back and talk about how to look up different stuff with different businesses, his education, in case there's some overlap there, some conversation. He's got some passion on lacrosse, basketball. So there could be some talking points there. I don't pay too much attention to skills and endorsements. I do look more closely at recommendations, see what people have said about the person. And then their interests. Again, there may be some things there that we have some commonalities on that we could talk about. So a lot of cool stuff you can learn about pretty quickly. If you just click connect, because he's a second connection, so I technically haven't met him. If I just click connect, he may accept. And if he does, then we can just dive into a conversation. But if he doesn't connect, then right here, these three mutual connections, these are the people who I know who also know him in some capacity. So I'm going to look at these three people. I know two of them really well, and I could reach out to either of them. And I could say, hey, Linda, I noticed that you know Jim over at Tech Perm Incorporated. Just wondering, I'd like to have a conversation with him, wondering if you'd be open to introducing me. And so hopefully, Linda would be open to making that connection. If she's a first connection, she can usually see his contact info. He's got some on there. Like he's got his email on there, even on the public, which is great. So you could technically email him directly. It's a little bit awkward. I like an introduction instead. But if you're not that close to these 3 mutual connections, then you could still just try and reach out to him directly if that's on there. Some people don't put that on there. That's part of that privacy settings that I mentioned earlier on, where you can kind of control who gets to see what of your contact info. So one of the things I would do in this case is I would reach out to say, Linda's a great networker. She's always out and about in the community, one of the most socially mobile people I know in Annapolis. So I would reach out to her and have a quick conversation with her and just say, hey, I'm looking to meet this guy, have a conversation with him, and see if he can if she can help open that door for me. Now, for some of you guys, you may not have reached out to your first in a while. You may not have reached out to this contact in a while. It's totally okay, either through LinkedIn or their email. Again, if they're a first connection, you'll have access to their contact info. Reach out to them if you haven't talked to them in a while and just say, hey, I know it's been a while since we talked. I just was hoping to get back on each other's radar, have a quick conversation. It keeps doing that to me. And get the ball rolling with that person. So, I don't know how many of you consistently reach out to your network. Most people don't. It's such a nice thing when people get that message, especially if it's a LinkedIn connection. Hey, we met at this event. Hey, we used to know each other through X, Y, and Z. My fault for not reaching out more. I'm sorry. I apologize that I haven't been more engaging. But I'd love to get the relationship going again. This again become more valuable when we get into a top 50, but there's no reason you can't start that conversation with any of your mutual connections. And then after a little bit of back and forth with Linda, it's totally fine to say, hey, I was poking around on LinkedIn. I see this guy, Jim, that I really want to know. Any chance that you know him well, any chance you can help open that door, for me, see if we can get a conversation going. And if she knows him and she knows how to get to him, and more often than not, they do, then she'll open that door up and make that connection. If not, if she says, gosh, I don't really know him that well, and the other 2 mutual connections say I don't really know him that well, then I'm going to go back and use that contact info or try and connect with Jim. And I'm just going to say to him, hey, Jim, we got some shared connections on LinkedIn. I think there's a good reason for us to be able to have a conversation that'll be beneficial to both of us. Any chance you'd be open to connecting, or any chance you'd be open to a quick phone call, just get acquainted professionally and see where we can go from there. So again, it's the warmer you can make it, the better off it'll be. So if it can come from a mutual connection who knows the person, it's significantly more valuable. But that's kind of how that conversation goes. And I am going through it a little bit quicker, than maybe I need to, but I want to make sure you guys get all the data, and then I have time for questions and stuff at the end. And feel free to email me. I'll put it in the chat, my contact information. Or if you guys know Amy knows how to get a hold of me, or Mark. If you guys want some more information on this, or you want to chat this through a little bit more, or practice the language a little bit, don't hesitate. I'm even open to connections on LinkedIn, obviously, right? So if it's more comfortable for you to hit me on LinkedIn, go ahead and do that. The other thing I want to show you is with Jim, or with any business really, one of the things that's kind of cool is if you scroll down to experience and you see this Chief Executive Officer, Tech Perm, if you click on this logo that's next to Chief Executive Officer, it's going to take you into Tech Perm's LinkedIn page. And this is valuable because it gives you a sense of how many employees they probably have realistically in the company. So in this case, there's 12 employees on LinkedIn. That is a hot link, so you can click on it and you can scroll through and see who those 12 employees are, what kind of work that they do. Maybe you're having trouble connecting with Jim, but maybe you can drop down the pipeline a little bit and be able to connect with somebody else who then can work you back up the pipeline to have a conversation with Jim. So all this stuff's all hot links. That's one of the beautiful things about LinkedIn that you can't do with like Facebook and some of this other stuff. You can't move around this fast and find the stuff that you need. The other thing is it tells you if that's a company you want to target. Is that going to be a high margin company for you? If they've got 12 employees, maybe that's exactly in your wheelhouse. Maybe you're able to provide solutions or services for them that they're not able to capture with 12 employees, and they don't need a full-time person in that role, but maybe you can add a lot of value for them. through that. And then, like I said, if you're having trouble connecting with Jim in this example, there's all these other employees that you might be able to connect with and do all the same stuff I'm showing you. This guy's name is pretty similar to mine. It's not exactly the same, but it's pretty close, right? So I could go in, he's a third, I don't know him, he doesn't know anybody I know. So I'm just going to jump in and do contact info or try and connect with them. So his only contact, see, he's got his blocked. So all he's showing is his profile. That's not helpful. So I'm just going to go straight to connect and try and connect with them. I have before like made up email addresses, like guessed what the email address is, if I can see what the company email address is and hope it goes through. I've done that before too. But so you can see really quickly with LinkedIn how fast you can dive in and figure out if you've got somebody that you're really looking to engage with and start a conversation with. So I'm just having to go back a lot here. All right. Let me pause for a second because I just threw a lot at you guys. Anything that you guys have questions on, feel free to unmute yourself or throw it in the chat box if there's something specific, or if there's something I can go over again for you. If you're like, hey, that sounded cool, but you breeze through it. I know I'm a fast talker. You breeze through it kind of quick. Can you touch on that again? I'd be happy to take a minute and dive into anything if there's anything so far. All right, I don't see anything in the chat. Like I said, guys, let me know if there's more that I can help you guys with, or if you have questions. Keywords a big thing. The Boolean search is a big thing. I'm going to shift gears a little bit because now we kind of know what a first connection is. We know what a second connection is. We know how to dig into individual companies through Navigator. I believe if it's still there, Navigator used to give you the ability to search by company size, which is valuable. But if you don't want to pay for the service, or you just do the 30-day service, do search by company size and just pull a bunch of leads into Excel or do those PDFs like I showed you guys. You can do, again, anyone, just go to more, save as a PDF, create a folder on your computer, just drop these PDFs in there. If you're the type of person that's in a business networking group like a BNI or other referral type group, I used to save to PDF, and then I would actually print these out and I would bring them to the meeting that I was with, the group of people that I was meeting with, and I would go to those shared connections and I would just say, hey, so say, for example, if Misty and I, or Marvin's a great guy, if Marvin and I were in a BNI group together, I could bring this PDF to Marvin and I could be like, hey, Marvin, I think you know this guy. And then he can take that home with him. It's a nice reminder of something to follow up on. And it counts as a referral if he does do the introduction and that sort of thing. You can also email the PDF just to make sure that people are finding the right people when you're asking for introductions and that sort of thing. So there's some really, really cool features on LinkedIn that you can take advantage of that most people don't realize. And so again, jump in if you have any questions. The last thing I'm going to finish on, now that you guys have seen what LinkedIn's capable of, back to my previous example, 1,100 people, it's way too many people for me to keep up with on a regular basis. And it's really, the warmer the lead, the stronger the relationship, the better the opportunity. So one of the things I recommend is to go through all of your LinkedIn connections, find like 50, maybe 30 to start, maybe 20, 50, 100's kind of the maximum that I've been able to consistently work with. But let's use 50 as an example for now. Find your 50 best connections, especially centers of influence or that sort of thing. LinkedIn will let you build as many profiles as you want technically, as long as they're all based on different email addresses. So LinkedIn's fingerprint, if you will, is based on an email address. So what you would do is just set up a brand new email address, something that you're not using on LinkedIn before, build a similar type of profile as the one that you have already on LinkedIn. And then you're going to reach out to those 50 people and you're going to send them a connection request, and you're only going to connect with those 50 people. And that way what happens is those are the 50 people that when you do searches, those are the 50 people that it's going to search their connections. When you have if you're looking at your news feed for those 50 people, it's only going to be those 50 people that show up in your news feed. Way easier to comment, way easier to like, way easier to send posts that are relevant to those people. Trying to do that, to me, I bet probably in the time that this 20, 30 minutes that we've been on this call, I've probably had a ton of new stuff come through my news feed. It's too much to keep up with. If you do a top 50 or a top 100, it's way easier to keep up with people. When you get these notifications, which are up here, which is around job changes, birthdays, work anniversaries, those are only going to show up for your top 50. And so the ability to really build that strong relationship with 50 or 100 of your best connections connections and be able to stay in touch with them and engage with them in a way that builds like a healthy relationship with them over time is best done through that additional profile. So it's a little bit of work on the front end, but it'll pay massive dividends long term. And so I strongly encourage people to think about narrowing down their connections, finding their best 50, getting them all into a separate place that you can log into. Different browsers. This is another little fun tip, but you can open LinkedIn on Chrome and like say your big profiles open on Chrome, but then on Edge, Microsoft Edge, you can open your top 50 profile and usually they won't, it's not an issue. You have to log in, log out, log in, log out. Just leave, Edge always open with your top 50, leave Chrome always open with your bigger profile. And then, you can bounce back and forth. It gives you the ability to do additional amounts of searches if you're not going to do anything with premium. So I'm a big fan of that top 50 profile. So, and as a way of really making sure you're paying attention to your notifications, you're paying attention to the people in your network. And then most importantly, when you do go in and do a search and, under those 50 or 100 connections, the only people that are showing up when you do like a second second connection search are the people who are the most valuable to you and the most likely to be able to do those introductions and open those doors for you. So, initially it may be you're just looking for opportunities, but, and you're just trying to develop opportunities, but over time, figure out who your top 50 are, build a new profile, connect with them specifically. It's a really nice message to send to them. Hey, I'm building a separate LinkedIn profile for my best connections. I hope that you're one of those and that you'll accept. I'd like to really make sure that I'm engaging with you properly going forward. And this new profile will give you the best ability to do that. So, in this case, one profile is your quantity profile. The other one's going to be your quality profile. So just a little bit different perspective and a little bit different approach to how to do some of this stuff. So still not seeing a ton of new questions in the chat box. And I know a lot of times people are busy doing different things. So I will, in the chat box really quickly, I'll put in my email address. The best one to reach me at for this type of stuff is going in real quick right now. But if you have any questions after the call or for people who are watching this, hopefully you can see that. It's just info at, and then the at part is modern, MODERN, mind, MIND, connections.com. But if you want to reach out to me, and again, my name is Brandon Gulley, Gulley. If you want to find me on LinkedIn, you can see that on there. Feel free to connect with me. You'll see a couple profiles on there. So just reach out to me on either one and we can get the ball rolling on some conversations and that sort of thing. But hopefully I'm not one to waste time. Hopefully you guys found this to be valuable. Again, hopefully you're able to grab some lunch or something along the way. But let me know if you have questions or thoughts along the way of things I can help with. But ultimately the goal is to help you guys find really good opportunities with the right types of people going forward using LinkedIn. And like I said, there's no other social media platform that really gives you this much control over what you're looking for.
Hey, Brandon, I had a question. We
Yeah,
talked
please.
about the individual profile, and then you showed some of the company profiles.
Uh-huh.
Could you explain a little bit the difference between the two, the individual and the company profile?
Yeah, so the individual profile is just like the person that works for the company, right? The company profile is where you're going to be able to see more information. Let me see if I can find someone that's really quickly. I don't know Avanti. Let me see what this company looks like. So if you go down here, and you can see EgoWin. If there's this box here, you're not going to get the same result. If there's a logo, you will get the same result, a better result. But if you look at Avanti and you just click on that, it's going to take you in and you can see 15 employees. And so it gives you a sense of how big the company is. That's generally how many are on LinkedIn. So it gives you a sense. There's also through the search, but I think you would need Navigator perhaps to do some of the search by size company. But if there's just a company you're trying to target, Mark, is there somebody off the top of your head that you would love that you've been trying to get in touch with or open a door with that has just been kind of tough for you for any reason? Or what about like Live Casino? Let's see if they've got anything on here. Yeah. Right. So let's say I wanted to connect with people at Live Casino, right? Okay, so that was a bad example because I don't have anything coming up there. but think of a company, Eagle Title just pops up randomly. So let's grab that one. So if you go into, Eagle Title, these are the people who work there, and then you can see who are your first and second connections and that sort of thing. If you change this first, if you get no hits, then just add seconds, and then you'll get all the other people that work at that same company. So if you
from
know
a
of a
prospecting standpoint,
Yeah.
if we had a company we wanted to target, we
Uh-huh.
could just search for the company and
Yep.
then it comes up, and then whoever has an individual LinkedIn profile, we could figure out who might be the best person to approach with that company and then go
You-
after their
you
individual
nailed it.
profile.
You nailed it. Yeah. And there's no, if you go and again, it's if you don't get any hits, if you're on first and you don't get any hits, just add the seconds. And then, like I said, and then you can still do your keyword. So add a filter. And then if you want to add in CEO, right, as a title, or again, whoever you're trying to target, right, chairman, president, whatever you're looking for. I mean, you can literally get that information. Like, here's the people who come up with like chief or CEO or those types of titles, for a massive Fortune 100 company, right? So you can find, if there's specific companies you're targeting, you can find it quickly. And I would say too, and there's resources for this, but there's ways of downloading lists of companies through different resources. The one I used to use, but I don't use anymore, was InfoSource. But you can download lists of companies within certain zip codes, and a lot of times, or maybe like the Better Business Bureau would have that type of data. But there's resources out there where you can figure out how many employees does the company have. And then again, if you just put them into your keyword search, you should be able to find them. And then you should be able to find all the employees. Or if you know of somebody, maybe you're at an event or somebody signs up, right, for one of the events that the chamber's doing, and they're not currently a member. You could easily go in, just put the company name in the search, and then you could find whoever either as first connections or second connections that work for that company, and try and start the relationship with them. So yeah, it depends on if you already know the name or not, as to whether or not you can, how quickly you can get that data. So.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah. Hey, Brenda.
So the Annapolis Sailing School, we are a rather small business.
Uh-huh.
Does it, like, if it pops up that we only have, 5 core employees, we hire a lot more, but they're all seasonal. Does that not look great on LinkedIn? Is it better off to just not have a page for the business as opposed to having something small and looking small?
So, and I didn't spend a ton of time on this. It's a great question. There's two different ways that you can establish a presence from a professional point of view on LinkedIn. One is your company page. I don't use company pages a lot, other than just to get a sense of the size of the company. Because it's mainly a billboard, if you will, on LinkedIn, right? So it's mainly your face or your company's logo on LinkedIn. The people that are following your company page, there's no ability for them to interact with each other. The other thing you can set up, and Mark was asking about this before the call, is something called a group. And groups are where people can interact with each other. And so, Brenda, for you, there may be value in looking at setting up a group. So Annapolis Sailing School as a group. And then all these seasonal employees, you can connect with them through the group. They can follow the group. You can do posts on the group, and that sort of thing. So it's a great way to communicate, let them know, hey, we're getting ready to ramp up hiring, and is anyone interested in coming back? Those types of things might be a great tool for that. So the groups may be more valuable, setting up a group page for what you guys do. You can make yourself an admin. You can make other people an admin. Usually the owner of the company sets up the group and they're also the owner. But for you, it may be more valuable internally for interacting. Externally, 90% of people who use LinkedIn honestly don't know some of the stuff I just showed you in terms of strategically looking some of this stuff up. On the flip side, there may be people who have valuable services that would help your business grow. If that was something you guys were trying to do, where they see 5 employees, they look at the 5 employees, they see you don't have somebody that handles your technology specifically, right? So maybe you guys have an owner and a president, you've got, different admin, whatever. I don't know all the roles, right? But it's 5 people, but you don't have someone that specifically does technology for your company. Somebody who sells technology support as a service for a retainer fee or an hourly fee or that sort of thing might be looking for your company. And they may reach out to you and say, hey, have you ever thought about doing this? Have you ever had a need for this? Hopefully they're approaching it in a low pressure way that just kind of helps you figure out if it's a value for your business. But for me, right, I may be looking to work with a company that only has 5 employees because maybe I want to look at a deferred comp plan or something like that for the owner. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think if anything, it helps weed out some of the people that just aren't a good fit. I get people that reach out to me like, hey, I want to work with you on selling you X, Y, and Z for all your employees. And I'm like, I'm a sole proprietor. Like, did you really look at all my employees? Because it's just me. So, it can really help you too as a business owner figure out if you even want to waste time having a conversation with someone if they weren't even taking the time to do a little bit of research and figure out how your business is structured. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Just recognize that company pages are more like a billboard. It's a great place to just throw stuff up there and hope people see it. But groups are a better way of staying in touch with people and connecting with people and that sort of thing, because they're not employees specifically for your company. But if they join your group, you can interact with them, they can interact with other group members and that. So again, I didn't spend a ton of time on that, but groups is usually one of the filters you can search by. I'm trying to think of some of the groups that I used to be more active. I'm not as active with groups as I used to be.
You could put
but
ours in.
yeah,
Look
I
up
mean, that's,
Anne Arundel Chamber. Yeah. Or it might be under Anne Arundel County.
Thanks, that was very helpful.
is that good? Okay, cool. Anne
Mm,
Arundel County.
Nope, keep going. Yep, do county maybe, because it'll show up and it'll say it's a group.
This
There
one.
it is. Mhm.
So here's a group page for the chamber. Request to join. I'm not on it. I should be, because I do all kinds of stuff with the chamber, right? But I just haven't been active with groups and LinkedIn as much as I used to. I'm more targeted in the first and second connection stuff that I do. But here's all the people that are in this group. So here's where this becomes valuable is I can go and I can literally look at the people that are in this group and see if there's anybody that I want to connect with, right? So here's a bunch of the people. These are the 9 first, but I can expand this to be more than just my first. Usually, maybe because I'm not in the group yet, because I just sent the request. Once I'm in the group, I should be able to see these are the people that are also in this group, and these might not even be members of the chamber. Mark was saying some of these guys might not even be members. So low hanging fruit, great to message them directly from the group if if you want to. But this is a great way to find some people who have shared interests. Or shared passions or that sort of thing, and engage with them. And then on the flip side, if the group admin, in this case, Sean, if they send out a message, they can send a message out to the whole group. So all 639 people would get it. You have to have set up that under settings and privacy, you would have had to have set up that people can message you from a group. So that has to do with how much control and data privacy and some of that type of stuff you want to put on there. But if I'm allowed to get messages, if I'm able to get messages from a group or any particular group, then that's a great way to do that. So, so I think that's the value in the groups. There's more engagement and there's more ability for people to interact with each other through a group than there would be in a company page. So
When you're posting in a company page, only your followers can see that?
correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Unless someone randomly clicks on it. But
Okay.
yeah. But with the cool part with the group is if the owner sends one out, as long as notifications are enabled, like everyone in that group will, usually it's an email. That's what I have it set up for.
Mm.
If anybody in a group messages, it comes through my email. So, and you can set all that up on there pretty easily. Also in that security settings, privacy settings thing is a place where you can add additional email addresses. I do recommend doing that just in case you ever get closed out of an email account for some reason, change companies or something. It's a good idea to have multiples on there. Most people do, and LinkedIn's pretty thorough about making sure people add extra ones. But that's another thing that I usually recommend people do is just, under their settings and privacy, there's a place where you can here's communications is where you do how you get your notifications. So if you just go settings and privacy and then communications, who can reach you, how do you want them to message you, all that stuff is all on there. So LinkedIn is massive. It gives you a ton of control. A lot of people don't realize how much control they have over their profile and how their profile engages with them. And I think LinkedIn could do a better job of helping people understand that, in my opinion, because there's so much we can do with this thing from a bounce around perspective. And again, everything I've shown you guys today, I don't have premium right now. So everything I've shown you guys today is all being done for free. So
Looks like Brian asked, what do you suggest for LinkedIn profile pictures?
I think it's always a good idea to have a professional photo if it's appropriate for your business. But like the sailing school one, I think it'd be awesome to have a boat or somebody on a boat, the owner on a boat, right? I think it's just cool. So I don't think it needs to be professional in all situations. But I do think that it's a nice touch. And then Facebook also, and I haven't updated mine, but see this panel behind me, this kind of 3 shades of green panel and this image over here. I can add a photo to this as well. So again, sailing school, certain businesses, you may want to have a logo behind your profile picture. It just makes it look like you're spending more time on LinkedIn and you're more professional with it. Again, I don't think it's super important unless you're trying to connect with a lot of people, maybe because you don't have a big profile yet, or that's your approach. My approach is primarily first connections, making introductions to people that I want to meet through people that they know. So that's my primary approach to LinkedIn. But if you're pretty active or that stuff's important to you, or if you're trying to build your profile and you want to make sure that people see you in a positive light, the more stuff you can do to make your profile look nice, and that's just easy stuff. Professional photo and a background image and all that stuff's easy stuff to do. So good question though.
I don't see any other questions.
Things. And again, it's just thinking about marketing, right? This is a marketing tool. That's how you have to look at it. It's not a normal social media platform. It's not a Facebook. It's not a Twitter. It's with all that stuff, you got to hope people see what you post, right? You got to hope people find your stuff. With LinkedIn, you can put it in front of them and you can connect with them and you can engage with them in a different way. And it's way more professional, obviously. So those are the reasons I think it's an overlooked social media tool that is way more powerful for marketing than people realize. And I think it goes way beyond just posting in your newsfeed. I think it's about really building real relationships with people, really networking with them, and getting to a place where you're having consistent communications with them. And again, there's so many ways. The more you use it, the more you really find out who your best connections are, the more valuable it'll become, and the easier it'll be to use.
And I think you have to schedule time for yourself to use it more.
Yep.
I used to use LinkedIn quite a bit, but it's been a number of years, and so I'm getting back into it.
Yep.
We're going to start using it more for the chamber. But what I do remember is keeping those. It's a great way to communicate about professional things. If commenting on someone's post, oh, thank you for that. This will be helpful for me. But it just builds that bond. And when you approach the person either to help you with a project or perhaps buy your product or service, they'll remember you because you're connected and you've communicated professionally about whatever item they might have posted.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I think it's just really about finding those really strong connections though, and then keeping the connection with them and engaging with them regularly. So that's why I think that top 50 profile, it's a little bit extra work, but it's a super valuable way of making sure you can still have your public big profile, I call it, your profile that has all your connections on it. And you can still do some fun stuff and some cool searches on there. But if you develop that top 50 profile, your best clients, if you want referrals from your clients, or your best centers of influence, if you want to get doors open with them. Somebody had mentioned an accounting firm. Man, this is a home run for an accounting firm. If you know what your type of clients you want to work with is, maybe you have a specialty or an expertise, you can find the exact people that you want to have a conversation with. It's so easy. And I assure you that their current accountant probably is engaging with them in the same way as you could be able to do once you were connected with them on LinkedIn. So.
Do you post a lot of content on your page?
I don't think
No.
there's a lot of benefit in it personally. I don't see where people get a lot of benefit from posting. I can't tell you like the last time I actually read through my news feed. Like if something randomly popped up and it caught my eye, maybe I would pay attention to it, but it's too much. The top 50 profile I do, the top 50 profile, I pay attention to what people post, but I don't personally post a lot. Part of that too is some restrictions that I have with compliance. So that's part of a challenge. I have to do all that through Hearsay and all that stuff, but and there's some great services. Hearsay is a great way to manage your social media platforms if you're looking for help doing that. And you can just Google Hearsay. There used to be another one too. I'm trying to remember what it was called. It's like Noodle or something like Noozle. That's what it was. NEWS Noozle. NEWSLE. What Noozle does is it links into your LinkedIn profile and it pulls all your contacts into Noozle. And then anytime any of your contacts are in the news, it notifies you that they were in the news. And then you can reach out to them as a touch point to say, hey, I saw this article in this magazine. Again, make sure it's appropriate. If they were quoted in Pregnancy Magazine, it may not make total sense on why I was reading that magazine. My significant other was pregnant at that time. So that might, make sure it makes sense. But Noozle was another one. I don't know if it's still out there or not, but that was another one that I used to use. That was kind of cool for keeping an eye on things people in my network were doing. Just that was, especially if you're more into the news arena or the news matters for your business. So. Cool. Great questions, guys. Thank you. Again, I try and keep it concise, so hopefully it was valuable. Hopefully, the main thing to me is hopefully you got enough out of it to see that it's a great tool and you start poking around with it. To Mark's point, a half an hour a day, a lot of times over breakfast or lunch, can be enough to get some benefit out of it. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, and like I said, guys, don't be strangers. If anybody wants some help, I'm happy to chat. I don't do this right now for a fee, but if you wanted that much time with me, I'd probably work out something. But if it's just some quick questions or you just need me to spend a few minutes going over some things with you, I'm happy to do that and help you get the ball rolling, and then we can kind of grow from there. Again, to me, it's just valuable to have great connections with people who are engaged in the world, because that you never know what doors they're going to open for you. So that's part of why I don't mind being a help if I can be. So.
You forgot to, Brandon, to mention the homework assignment that all of the people on the call have to request to become a follower of the Chamber's LinkedIn page.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not